we got a received a company bulletin. Just as all these companies send out usually a monthly newsletter or something. I got one from RCA headquarters, and it said that they had, one of their experimenters had an object he was flying around that had an anti-gravity drive. In other words, it was self-levitating and could be moved around. And I thought, well, why are we doing this? Why are we messing with all these rockets when we could do this? So I called up headquarters, and first they said, well, it's not true. The experiment didn't really work. And then they said the document didn't even exist. And I said, well, I got it right in my hands here. And I already knew that Nikola Tesla had flown a platform around in the very early 1900s, like 1904. I don't believe that we've gone backwards in technology, and the Russians grabbed everything they could of that technology. And I assume that our government grabbed some of it or all of it.
Yeah, I mean, if you can levitate an iceberg, you could end a drought. I mean, you could land in a dry lake bed, you could change architecture.
The work that Hutchins has been doing, he has Tesla coils, he has Van de Graaff, and he has, very frankly, static electricity generators. Notice that data doesn't have to make sense.
Right.
Data just has to be truthful.
The truth.
That's right.
It's more important than proving Einstein right or wrong.
Okay, now his data showed everything from a chocolate milkshake snaking toward the top of his room to bowling balls floating in the air.
Very little effort required, about as much as lifting an umbrella, and no centrifugal force. Now, of course, we have the problem of stopping it.
Nikola Tesla was a great inventor and a great humanitarian. Well, Tesla wanted to get into his field, which was free, if you will, energy that comes from the surroundings. He was hired by J.P. Morgan to work with Westinghouse and Edison companies on the East Coast. And Tesla said, I've got it made. I think we can now transmit electrical power through the Earth, through the ionosphere, without any wires or telephone poles. If you gave a device, like a free energy device, a generator that would service all their needs in their home for free, they could then bring out their creative talents, which they were born with and been suppressed because they've had to toil for a living. They could be tremendous artists beyond our dreams, tremendous engineers beyond our dreams. J.P. Morgan was not buying it. He said, no, we're going to have to tear this stuff down. So Tesla kind of pulled back into himself and decided, well, I guess it's not time for this.
He took a whole bunch of these bug wings and he glued them to like a Venetia blind structure, and he put it into a little platform he built. So they were all, these bug wings were all covered in here. And he used I theorize he used the wing covers as well as the inner wing itself. There's also a kind of a handlebar on this thing with some controls. You can see the thing a little better here in detail. The controls, I think, had to be manipulated continuously and probably vibrated to create the same action that the bug was doing. There was also down at the base some kind of a lever, which I suspect controlled the amount of lift he was getting out of this thing. Anyway, Grebennikov claimed that he could fly this thing or levitate it, and it would go around at almost 1,000 miles an hour. Now you ask, how can that happen? Well, he said that there was an energy field that built up around this thing due to this gravity field building up in the platform, and by this thing building up, it built out a force field that basically surrounded him and protected him from the local environment. So even though he was flying at 1,000 miles an hour, you could go, you could be wearing your Sunday best suit and not get it flutter a bit at 1,000 miles an hour. But if you get into the other things he did with shape, they almost mirror the stuff that I discovered. And it proves, I guess, that there's either two crazy people in the world or there's two people that have found the same discoveries.
Has anybody ever threatened your life? I mean, as far as like trying to possess what you have here, I mean, seeing it as a threat, has anyone ever threatened you and said that, you're on to something and you're not allowed to be doing this? And
No major threats. Mostly people saying, well, you should work for the U.S. government. That's a lot of emails I get are like that, and that they're ready and willing to stand by and give the funding out.
Einstein's work is only a slight modification of Newton's work. But we do understand that Newton's work has, well, Newton's work, for example, Newton says,
This is my one.
says anything that's in motion tends to remain in motion, right? Okay, so I have something, and I'm taking it around counterclockwise. And see it, and what Newton said is true. He just wants to go around and around and around and around and around. This particular thing is called a cell. It is not, it's clear plastic, there's nothing in it. Okay, now I'm going to take it around clockwise. It says, no, I don't want to do that. It's just like my children. I will do it my own way.
Why did it go the other way?
Precisely. A Newton's law.
Is that because of the rotation of the planet, or?
Well, there
Can I try that?
You may. In fact, first of all, send it around counterclockwise.
Okay. And this is called a cell?
It is celt, C-E-L-T.
What's in it? Okay, there we go.
Nothing's in it. It's plastic. Okay, now take it around clockwise.
Okay.
And it says no, and it goes back to the same number of turns you sent.
Oh, I've never seen anything like that.
Now go out stronger. I know. See, I'm looking for the exception to the rule. You have to, if you can use language, you really need to convert it into mathematics.
But here's one thing, this makes sense to me. If you can cancel out gravity in a falling body, and you can even reduce a percentage of the effects of gravity for aircraft, it would take less fuel, they would be more efficient, and they could hover with less energy, and that much I can figure out.
And the atmospheric edge of the Earth will be meaningless.
I think the realm of it is quite probable, since I was studying some of the older experiments done by T. Brown, Podleinoff, and those folks. And what's interesting about Podleinoff is that the anti-gravity effects seem to go right down the Earth all the way up to an unknown area.
Tesla said, they're not interested in my time. I want you to take everything I can teach you and go in your time and see if they'll listen to you. And if you don't make it, you're going to have to pass it on, because at the rate we're going, we're on a self-destructive course. Carr said, I will, and he got his own lab started and started really getting into a lot of free energy devices and building them.
So he built a spaceship?
He's building small spaceships then, and he had different sizes, different models. There's a company, Advanced Kinetics, in Costa Mesa. That's where we were living, in Costa Mesa, California. And they're looking for a research and development laboratory technician. They gave me a job, they put me in the research lab, and I was inventing ideas all day long. I just loved it, because I like to invent simple ways of doing hard things. We could talk about things that were unlimited, not limited. I said, my mission is to see that we have habitation and transportation in one vehicle. And he said, well, you sound like a guy that's back east getting in trouble right now. His name is Otis Carr. And he put in a patent for a levitation device, and they wouldn't give him the patent. He said, you've got to pull that levitation out and anchor it on the ground, and we'll give you a patent on an amusement device. You cannot use levitation. Day and night, 24/7, we were building these small prototypes. And they would range anywhere from 12 inches to 3 feet to 6 feet, to, in size.
And they actually flew, they actually levitated.
Oh, yeah.
And what was the source of the power?
Well, it was magnetic in nature. And
you were actually building these for people to sit in. I mean, not just models.
These were prototypes just to prove what we wanted, and then graduate up to where human habitation could get on board and operate them. In those days, we had counter-rotating wheels, one going clockwise and another going counterclockwise. We had a capacitor, we had small magnets, and we had what's called a U-tron. It was a double tetrahedron. That's 2 ice cream cones put with the open ends together. You have a diamond shape. And we had 12 of them around the periphery of the craft. And we had magnets, horseshoe magnets, 12 of those around the craft. So when you started rotating and counter-rotating, as these neutrons went through the field, they would act as a generator and a capacitor in themselves, and they would generate a lot of power, not necessarily electrical power, but vibrational power. When you get to the resonant frequency of your surroundings, it cancels everything out. It goes to a 0 point. And once you've reached 0 point, then you can go anywhere you want.
So I wondered if gravity could be related to its cousin magnetism.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found that when I take two magnets together, I have some neodymiums around here that I'm actually afraid of.
They're so strong.
They can danger you. Mm. But anyhow, you take a magnet, you go to put them together and they go clunk, right? Mm. But you take one of them, move it around, and all of a sudden it doesn't want to go together.
The repulsive.
So I got, I ordered one at $5,000 a piece, wow, with a 1/4-inch hole through between both of them, and I put a brass bolt and I tightened them down, forcing them together. Mm-hmm. And then I put them together in a thing that looks kind of like a rock. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then I got another one that didn't have magnets in it. I got 9 guys that were not educated and didn't have pre-opinions on anything. Mm-hmm. And I dropped my 2 rocks. Mm-hmm. And I said, what I would like you to do is, I told them what I'd like you to do is I would like you to take whichever one arrives first, get it in your hand, and when I come down the elevator, hand it to me. Mm-hmm. Now they looked identical, except for...
So, and nobody knew what was inside?
Not, absolutely not.
Which one arrived first?
The one that had no magnetic field in it.
So you were able to cancel out gravity to a certain degree. You were able to cancel...
Precisely.
Reduce the mass gravity effect.
Precisely. Nature never uses English. It doesn't speak. It doesn't speak any language. But yet it's talking to us all the time.
Right.
And the key thing is to identify what it's saying.